I was talking to one woman. She's like, look, Doug, since I was 13, men have been trying to sleep with me, right? Which sounds grotesque. At the same time, that's a reality for a woman. So let's say it's not 13, let's say it's 15. Is your wife 15? Is she 40? You know, like that's a big delta. Like it's a lot of years of her conditionally just expecting men to chase her, right? Men to want to sleep with her. When you pull back a little bit, show that you have desire but not need, that makes you extremely attractive and very rare in the marketplace. Welcome back to another episode of the TPM Show. Once again, gentlemen, I am graced to have Christopher Hansen here with us, one of our advisors with TPM. Now, what's an advisor? An advisor is somebody that, if you're interested in the program, if you apply and you're qualified, we put you through to an advisor who's going to talk to you about your specific situation to make sure the program's a good fit. We have a 90+% success rate with our programs over the past 8 years. And the reason we do that is, one, they work. Two, is we make sure it's going to be a good fit for you, for actually the guy. If you're going to invest your time, your money, your resources, we want to make sure it's a good fit. And therefore, Chris and then one of the other advisors is somebody that gets on the phone with you. So today we're going to be fielding more of your questions. Talk Chris into staying if you've listened to the previous episode. And those questions are sent in either to the VIP at thepowerfulman.com inbox. So if you have questions you want answered on this show, make sure you email those in. We also have a free Facebook group, which we're putting those into as well, which you can find the Powerful Man Facebook group over there on, well, guess what? Facebook. And we've launched our own app. And so the app we are going to be opening up to certain people coming through. There's already several hundred of our members that are in there right now. But when we open that app up, there'll be another avenue to get your questions answered directly by myself or one of our other expert coaches. Chris, thanks for being here again, man.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. Jump right in.
Let's do it, baby.
Okay. This is a question that came out of the Facebook group from Gary. How can a man who has had a hard time identifying and expressing his emotions make those emotions accessible in a romantic relationship?
Go to an alpha reset.
No. Hey, I mean, that might be the answer. I'm curious about this as well. This is something that I have struggled with in my own life of just being closed off and not, even when I want to express those emotions, sometimes I don't really know how to step into that space.
Yeah, I think almost all guys are like that. I say almost. There's some guys that can naturally do it very, very well and are more in tune with it. I think it's just been society's beat it out of us, right? Boys don't cry, oh, you're hurt, put some dirt on it, get back in there. Don't be a wimp. All kinds of things that come out. Also, I think as men, especially as young men, when we've showed emotion, other kids have picked on us or we've been made to feel weaker.
Yeah.
Now, I do believe wholeheartedly the answer is the Alpha Reset. It's by far the best program I've ever seen to help men get in tune with their own self and feel that groundedness. We have a guy that's in our group. His nickname's the Tin Man because he found his heart. And there's so many guys that I've talked to. I can think of the Sovereign one, a number of other men who would tell you their entire lives, and both those men are in their 50s. They've never been able to touch their heart and touch emotion. And now all of a sudden they do, and they would tell you that their lives are greatly expanded. So it's easy for me to say, go to an Alpha Reset. I realized that if I didn't know the process or didn't know me, I might think, well, this guy's just trying to sell me something. And I'm not. My life doesn't change if someone goes to an Alpha Reset or not, but their life will. And you, by the time this is recorded, you are going to come out of your Alpha Reset, which I'm excited.
Yep.
By the time this is released, not recorded, which will be super exciting. I'd love to get your take on that on the flip side.
To do another podcast on the backside of it.
Yeah, let's plan on it. So short of that, right? So I know some people just can't afford it, can't get here, whatever it is. So the TPM we have, as you know, Chris, 106-acre ranch that we run our events on. Like, we're dedicated. This is not a fly-by-night thing that we're doing. We're dedicated to helping men. And so we've invested everything into creating a facility that we can launch this. Now, let's say you can't make it there for whatever reasons. You're on house arrest, what have you. How do you get in touch with those emotions? This is a really tough one. So this is a journey I was on, I want to say 5 years or so. And I kept on hearing from people, but my wife, but also girlfriends over the time of, you have such a big heart. I'd love to see it more. I heard that all the time. And I thought, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah.
So trying to figure out where that was. And what it comes down to is, this is going to sound weird and cliche. And I say that wondering if like the old Doug would have received this, is it's getting in touch with loving yourself to such a way that if you show your emotions, that you're not worried about getting attacked, right? So we have men that come in through this program that have been special forces operators their entire life. We have men that come in through this program that have manly guys, but scared to show their emotions, right? And I think the preconceived notion is, well, if I show my emotions, I'm weak, right? And the truth is, if you're showing your emotions is a sign of strength, because you're leaving yourself vulnerable for attack, yet you're still doing it. So for Gary, my guess is he's just like, hey man, I just don't know how to tap into my emotions. It's not even the fear of it. I just haven't felt it in a long time. And that comes with experience, quite honestly. You have to have those experiential reps. And that's why I said the Alpha Reset. The Alpha Reset creates a safe environment for men to be able to get in touch with their emotions with other strong men in a non-intimidating environment.
I have a group of men, not in TPM and outside of TPM, that I'm close with. And what I can say is that there is an aspect of it it's a different level when it comes to connecting with a female.
Yeah.
Also, there's a different type of relationship. There's a different type of trust between men and women, right? And yeah, men may have been picked on by other boys at a young age. They also may have been, had their heart torn out by a woman.
100%.
Yeah.
So when, as a man, you feel so grounded in who you are, like rooted, that kind of groundedness, you can stand the storm of sharing with a woman, sharing with another man. And that's not to say that a man that can't do that, it's weak. That's not what I'm saying at all. You haven't had the reps to get to that point yet, where you can actually, hey, say something where no matter what somebody else says, you know yourself to the core so much that it's like Teflon, right? It just bounces off you. It doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. Doesn't mean it doesn't affect you, but it doesn't affect you in that deep way that it may have used to. I can tell you it's also shocking to a lot of women, especially when a guy is open and vulnerable. They love it, but also they're like, whoa, I'm not used to this in a good way. In fact, I was having a conversation earlier with Colton about this. Colton is in such a great place that he had somebody share with him, like, wow, I've never been around such a grounded masculine man. It's refreshing, kind of. And I'm paraphrasing here. And then for me in Breckenridge, which we just were at for the Brotherhood and then the Inner Circle event, we're going around the table. One of the participants asked, and so the Inner Circle is our highest level mastermind group. And I think there were 12 of us around this table at this time, including the coaches, and started to the right of me going around the table, like, where were you a year ago and where are you now? And phenomenal results. Like the guys were like, holy cow, until I reflect, I didn't realize how much I've grown. And there's some tears, right? The guys were like, oh my gosh, this was so tough at the beginning of the year when I joined the Inner Circle, and now look where I am. And tears of joy, tears of like sadness for the past. And it got to me and I got really emotional because this last year was really tough for me, just overwork, just trying to build the movement. And what happened was I looked around the table and a lot of guys had tears in their eyes. And one guy looked at me and was like, I've known you for 4 years. This is the most connected I've ever felt to you. I've had a hard time connecting with you. And I was shocked. Like, what do you mean you can't connect with me? No, but it's that vulnerability of sharing, and sharing, because I'm in a position of authority at that table. So sharing my non-perfections, not that it's shocking that I'm not perfect, but you have to have vulnerability to go out there and go, okay, I'm not going to lie. I'm going to be in integrity and authenticity. If I'm asking these men to do this, I need to be able to take that step as well.
Yeah.
And what I found on the other side of this, and I'm hoping Gary gets this too, is that's where connection lies. And so in his relationship, he first has to get in tune to his emotions. If he can't do that, then I would suggest some experiential work. If it's not with TPM, then go somewhere else and do it. Have some experiential work. Sometimes psychedelic journeys can help men. Experiential things like the Alpha Reset are great for that. If he is in touch with his feelings and it's more fear of how she's going to react, then that has to do with more with getting rooted and grounded in himself. You got another one in there from the Facebook group?
I do. I have one from Tony. This is a bit of a long one. Some of us have created real hurt within our partners. So much that they have felt deep trauma. Maybe we were arguing unfairly, being controlling, manipulative, making them to feel guilty. This kind of stuff. I'm not finding the polarity, masculinity type of stuff very helpful.
Hey guys, I wanted to interrupt this episode because it's dawned on me that many of you guys aren't aware that we actually have a book on how to save your marriage without talking about it. Now, thousands of men have read it, they've reviewed it, and I want to give you the opportunity to do the same. If you're interested in grabbing it, it's a short read, but it's helped a lot of men just like you. And maybe you're not interested in the activation method yet, but this is a small entry point that can really turn things around for you. Go over on Amazon. We have it priced as cheap as Amazon will let us. And that way you have a resource that you can use right now to start getting some results in your marriage. Now let's get back to the episode.
If she is, let's say, seeing her own counselor and trying to work through whether she can even see herself with you again.
Mm-hmm.
What advice do you give us when she says, I can see you're showing up in a different way, but I'm so exhausted and have been hurt by you for so many years. I don't know whether it's ever going to come back. Is it time for marriage counseling? Maybe not just TPM? When you as a couple might have to reconcile such a troubled past.
First of all, I totally get that, Tony. I'm going to try to offer you a translation. So what's happened is, in this type of situation, happens a lot, is the woman's been hurt for so long and the man hasn't shown up as the man that she knows he can be. And see, guys, what you don't know is your wife actually knows the man you could be. And when you don't show up as that man, that's the most hurtful thing for them, right? Because they're like, why isn't he showing up at this potential? She married or invested in your potential, not the person she said I do to, but the person she sees you becoming. And when you don't show up, that's just disappointing, quite honestly. We've all have friends that we know like, oh, Frank is such a smart guy. He could achieve anything. And then Frank takes a very low level job that doesn't do anything and just whines and bitches. And he's the victim, right? And you're like, Frank, you got so much potential, man. And eventually you just don't want to hang out with Frank, not because you don't care about him, but it's tough to see him wasting his way. And Frank's going to end up in this analogy just playing the victim card. Well, for Tony, he's hurt his wife. He's not showing up. And so how is she going to survive? By closing her heart, right? So Tony, your partner, has closed her heart to you in order to prevent being hurt more. So then Tony is now showing up and she's like, whoa, now he's showing up as the man I want him to be, or he's at least on the right track. And so what happens is the initial knee-jerk reaction a woman has is excitement, and excitement turns immediately into fear, okay? Because what she's saying consciously or subconsciously to herself is, okay, here he is showing up the way he wants to. And he's like, pump the brakes, girlfriend. Like, hold on, because we don't want to get hurt again. Because if I open my heart to Tony again and this change isn't permanent, right? This is a new car smell right now. This change isn't permanent. He's going to hurt me again. We remember how bad that hurt. I was crying in the shower by myself. I was whatever she was doing to cope. She doesn't want to go through that again. So she's going to push back even harder on Tony. Now, Tony's job is to show up consistently. That's the key. If you think marriage counseling might work, go for it. I'm not against marriage counseling. Didn't work for me. Tried it a couple times. Hasn't worked for probably 98% of the guys that we talk to. We have thousands of men that come through the program. Not to say it doesn't work for anybody else. I mean, we have marriage counselors that come through this program. It's just that the marriage counseling, in my experience, is looking in the rearview mirror, right? Not moving forward. And so when she knows that Tony's awakening, if you will, excuse me, him becoming activated, as we call it, when she knows that Tony's truly activated and Tony is doing it for Tony, not for her, not to prove something to keep her around, then she'll start to open her heart more. Now, it may be too late. That happens. Certainly does. And that sucks. And don't want to see that. But the best case scenario is Tony stays the course and his wife recognizes it's going to be permanent and they ride off into the sunset. Yep. Worst case scenario, Tony stays the course and his wife, it's just been too late, but Tony becomes a better man out of it. And I know you can't see this right now, Tony, but you'll attract a higher level woman at the next step, right, of the game. But you need to do this for yourself first and foremost. Women can smell it a mile away when you're doing it because that's transactional, right? So if I do something to impress you, Chris, so therefore you'll like me, I'm only doing that as long as you'll like me, right? Like that version of me that shows up. But if I am authentically myself and you choose to like me, you're always going to like this. You're always going to like Doug because that's just who I am. And so that's a difference in our society. We have so much transactional relationships. And a lot of the men are like, oh shit, she's leaving. She's going to leave. And they try to put on this whole facade of who they're going to be to impress her. Well, the woman can see right through that. Mm-hmm. And the men I work with, when they actually clicks for them that, hey, I'm doing this change for me. If she's here or not, I'm still doing this. Well, then all of a sudden, as soon as that man makes that transition, their wife starts to go, hey, what are you doing over there? You know, she starts to notice. Yeah. And quite honestly, a lot of times what happens is the woman starts to become scared that another woman's going to step into her place because she sees the stock of her man rising and realizes how rare it is for a man to be grounded and masculine in a very loving way.
Yeah. What a wonderful place to be, honestly. Yeah. Because she gets to then meet you right there and you guys get to grow together.
100%. And that's the ideal, right? But sometimes when a woman's in fear, so what's going to happen for Tony is his wife is going to safety test him. We call it a safety test because that's truly what it is. Am I safe? Right? So she's going to push every button she can, and she deserves to because Tony hurt her. Mm-hmm. And so she wants to make sure, hey, am I safe in this relationship? So she might accuse Tony of stuff. She might throw tantrums. Like she's going to find a way to get Tony to react. Yeah. And what she's trying to do is get Tony to go back to the old Tony he was, the jerk or whatever you were doing, Tony. And if you resist that and you're actually the grounded masculine man, the activated man as we talk about it, then if she does that, she knows she's safe and she can surrender into you. Yeah. My daughter's 5, right? And so my wife was out of town at a retreat for the last 5 days, and she will push every boundary as she should. She's a 5-year-old. She's testing her boundaries. But when I hold a firm line with her and I'm solid where I am, regardless of what she does, she just melts in my arms like butter, right? That's what feminine energy does when it's met with masculine energy. It's not that I'm being it's not like I'm not being a dictator or anything like that. In my house with a 5-year-old, you got to kind of tell them what to do. But feminine energy responds so well to a masculine grounded presence. And us as men, at least I wasn't taught that, Chris. And so that's something I had to discover on my journey of figuring that out. And luckily, I was able to save my marriage. My wife surrenders into that now because I can show up that way. Yeah. She knows she's going to get consistency. She knows regardless of what she does, I'm on this path. And so no matter what, I'm there for her, which gives her safety and a container which she can live her life.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Great question.
Yeah. So this is from Samuel. My relationship with my wife is going great since I've taken the steps to work on myself. But if there's still deep-rooted trauma from an affair she had, how do you dig that root out so you can move forward with learning to fully trust her again? In my head, I keep making up stories about her that I know are not true, which causes me to not allow myself to fully trust her.
Yeah, Samuel, first of all, man, I'm sorry that happened to you. I feel you. So this one's a tough one in the sense that Samuel needs to come to the realization that he can't affect her and she may cheat again. And that's a tough pill to swallow. So what a lot of guys do one of two things usually. One is they become over needy and overbearing, meaning they want another wife's location. They want to ping her. They want to check her phone. They're checking for signs of affairs and cheating to get their own reassurance, right? The second thing guys do is they'll start really accusing their wife all the time and beating her up. They want to play the martyr. They want to make sure she hurts as much as they did. Mm-hmm. In both of those scenarios, you lose, right? Your wife's going to leave, or it's just not going to go good. Eventually, I remember in a relationship that I had, I was constantly being accused of cheating, and I wasn't. I wasn't cheating at all. And finally, I looked at the woman and said, look, if you're going to keep accusing me and treating me like I'm cheating, I'm going to go do it, because I'm getting the same punishment either way. Yeah. And I remember the look on her face of like stunned, but I was dead serious. I have not cheated on you once. You know, these are your own insecurities, but you're punishing me as if I have. So I might as well do the action. I'm not getting any of the rewards, if those are rewards, what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So for him, really the essence of this is he gets to be in a place where he's got to be so good with her cheating and understand his own self-worth that it's her loss.
Yep.
And when he figures that out and truly embodies it, like he is the gift, we used to say the prize. A guy named Andrew changed that with a beautiful, beautiful poem that he wrote at one of our events. But when he leaves, like he is the prize or the gift, then hey, if she cheats, she just lost the prize of her life. But you can't control her. So I'll use my wife as an example. I traveled. My wife just went on a 5-day retreat, right? Where was she? Who was she with? I could easily get caught in my head. She stayed an extra night. Why did she stay an extra night? Did she stay an extra night to meet a man? What was going on? And if I do that, it's all consuming. I'm texting her, I'm following her, I'm tracking her location. My wife and I share locations for safety reasons, right? But I would be tracking all those things and, well, why were you here and not there? And, why didn't you text me? You text me at 10 o'clock at night. Why were you up so late? We go to bed early. But you get the idea. Or I can just realize, look, my wife could be cheating. She could be doing all of these things. I hope she's not. But if she is, she's going to lose what I think is the best thing that ever happened to her. That's unfortunate. I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
When I get to that place where I realize my own personal value, not only in the sexual marketplace, as they call it, or in the dating marketplace, my own value as a human, then when I'm in that place, my wife's like, hey, is it cool if I take an extra day? I'm like, yeah, enjoy yourself. Have a good time. I got the kids. I also become sexier to my wife, right? I'm not needy. I'm being reassured. I'm giving her space. And it's kind of like a cat, right? And I'm not saying this in a degrading way, but if you ever chase a cat around, I think you have a cat, don't you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if I come to if I come to your house and your cat's there and I start running after your cat to catch it, what's it going to do?
It's going to run.
It's going to run away, right? It's going to hide under the bed or something. And I'm like, hey, kitty, come on. Cat's like, get this freaking guy away from me. My experience, though, when I go to someone's house, and I had a cat growing up, my dad's got cats, but my experience is if I ignore that cat and I sit on your couch and you and I are just talking, there's a good chance that cat's going to get curious and come over, test the waters, purr a little bit, rub against me. And eventually, if I keep ignoring it, it's going to end up on my lap or darn close to it, right? It's the same thing with your partner. When you're not needy, you become attractive to a woman, right? Women are so used to men chasing them. So used to. I mean, I was talking to one woman. She's like, look, Doug, since I was 13, men have been trying to sleep with me, right? Which sounds grotesque. At the same time, that's a reality for a woman. So let's say it's not 13. Let's say it's 15. Is your wife 15? Is she 40? That's a big delta. Like, it's a lot of years of her conditionally just expecting men to chase her, right? Men to want to sleep with her. When you pull back a little bit, show that you have desire but not need, that makes you extremely attractive and very rare in the marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Yeah, and just getting good with the idea of her cheating, because there's emotions around that. There's a lot of feelings, a lot of pain that comes up when that happens. I've been through that.
Yeah.
I've experienced it. And yeah, you really have to just, I would always lean into it. Like if I felt like that was happening, but like, all right, I'm going to feel all these feelings that come up around this happening. I'm not going to react to them. I'm not going to live from that place.
Yeah.
But I am going to accept and acknowledge that these feelings are here. And it just creates so much space to be able to actually like navigate for myself and not feel like I'm being driven by those feelings.
Yeah. Well, so my guess is, based on having had this conversation hundreds of times at this point, is the feeling is what's wrong with me, right? So it's a lack of self-worth. Like, what am I doing wrong? Why is my partner cheating on me or having an emotional affair? Am I not good enough? Right? And that I'm not good enough is usually the core thought process that men go through, and women, right? Where are my faults? The key here is I need to feel good enough myself that I don't question my self-worth. So now if my wife, Erin, cheats, I'm like, you're just stupid. That was just a dumb thing to do, right? Because I know I'm not thinking, oh my gosh, is the guy that she slept with or talked to or did whatever with better than me? No. Was it an opportunity? Was there something? Maybe. I can't provide everything for her. It's not my job, right? That's just not who I am. And hey, if I faltered and she went off and did something, she made a choice, and that choice is going to have consequences. I've communicated those consequences to her, and as she has to me, right? So if I do the same thing, I got to expect to pay those consequences. And it's going to hurt. It's going to suck. It's not something I want to have happen, Chris, right? But at the same time, I know my value with it. Because of that, when I've let her go, so to speak, my attachment to her, I'm no longer controlling, and she's able to freely flow into her femininity. You know, if you're controlling, then you're making your wife masculine, and that's not sexy. Now your wife is masculine. You have to be masculine, or you have to slip into your feminine, and now you've lost polarization the way it should be.
Yep, sure.
Love the question, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing these to the table.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Gentlemen, as we always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. I hope you've liked these questions. I find them fun. We don't do any prep for them, but they are really interesting, and they're the questions that you guys have. So if you have questions, first of all, if you're in the new TPM app, which you can find in the App Store, unfortunately, if you're not in it, you can't actually get access to it. We're going to open up access to a select few of you, the listeners, coming up shortly. We're working on the technological ways to do that. But for those men that are in it, those lucky guys, go ahead and post your questions in there. We'll prioritize those questions. And for the rest of you, you can email into vip@thepowerfulman.com or into our free Facebook group. So the advisors and the coaches that are in there culminate those questions. Chris gets those, and we'll do our best to do more of these for you if you guys like them. And let me know if you like them. Otherwise, it's Chris and I just rapping here, having a good time and having conversations. I'd love to hear from you guys, and let us know what it is you'd like to hear on the TPM Show. Gentlemen, in the moment of insight, take massive action. Remember, I'm always in your corner, and we'll see you next time on the TPM Show.